Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to Talk, Therapy, and Heal. This week, we have a great treat for you as we continue on in our Family Ties series. I encourage you to listen in and glean the nuggets in which we'll share with you today. We look forward to connecting with you.
So, as Larisha was saying, we are continuing on with the Family Tie series. This topic that we are going to be discussing this week is be the branch, not the tree.
And what do we mean by be the branch and not the tree? Well, the tree represents the family, right? We're going to liken that into the family, and the branch is the individual, which would be you, and us collectively. Like we are the branches when it comes to trees in our families as well.
Yes. So, be the branch, not the tree. So just kind of starting off, what comes to you all when you hear our topic, be the branch, not the tree, either from a professional standpoint, personal standpoint, what would you say?
I think there's a lot of trees in the woods. They all kind of look the same, but they all may have different branches, and the branches may serve a particular purpose. And I think being the branch and not the tree kind of lets an individual be an individual and operate in their specific purpose that God has potentially given them.
Okay. Anyone else?
So when I think about the many different trees, like you said, there are so many different trees, and a lot of them look the same. If you ask me, it's a tree.
Right.
Tree. I don't know the difference really between a redwood tree, a dogwood tree, a cedar tree, whatever the tree. I love trees, but I couldn't tell you the names of them. So they all sometimes look the same. But like you said, I've never seen a tree that had the same type of branch.
Yeah.
That's something I've never seen that. And some of the times the leaves that it produces off of its branch are also different than the other leaves on the other branches on the trees. So nothing looks the same, but it's something that when we're in families, and we're tied to a family, we feel like we have to look exactly like that tree, that tree that produced our family. Like, I got to look like my auntie, or I got to look like my mama. I got to look like my grandma. I got to do what they did, how they did it, when they did it, all of the things. But if you think about it, we are all different.
Right.
We're all producing different things, and how your branch looks upon the family tree is not going to be the same as what your auntie's branch looks upon how it looks on the tree. And so I think what we're talking about here today is just coming from that individual standpoint of understanding and recognizing that it's okay to be different.
Yes.
It's okay to be who you are and not conform to family and societal norms. Like, I don't have to make sure, oh my God, my auntie branch look like this. My branch is not curving like that. Let me make sure I curve like this. And that curve might not agree with you. It may not agree with what you're trying to produce, but yet you're trying to make it that. And so I think it causes for confusion. It causes for identity crisis. It also causes trauma within that tree. And then we wind up with sometimes branches that are not surviving, that branches that are, I don't want to call it toxic, or sometimes the family could be that toxic thing. That tree is toxic, and we're trying not to be it, but we're connected to it, and so we feel like we got to be just like it, not really fully embracing the fact that we can be different.
Right. And I set up and think about so as we know, somewhere around the pandemic, after the pandemic, it was a spirit of cutoff. Where everyone's like, I'm not dealing about this person. I'm not dealing with that person. Oh, I'm cutting them off. Everybody was #cut off. But the thing is, I think a lot of individuals are struggling with because we were all taught, this is what we was talking about before we came on. Oh, we was in a good discussion. So hopefully we can continue it. But we were speaking about like how we were taught family is everything. No matter what someone in the family did to you, they are family, blood is thicker than water, all these types of cliches. And where a lot of individuals I feel are struggling is it's either you conform to the norms of the family, or you seen as a black sheep, or oh, because you did the work, you went to counseling, you did the, you went through your healing journey and all that. Oh, now you think that you're better when that's not the case. And so a lot of people I know, from a relational aspect and especially breaking generational curses, this is a struggle that many deal with. It's like, I love my family. I don't want to cut my family off, but at the same token, I cannot continue to operate in that same path that was not healthy for me. Or individuals, let's say it from the tree and the branch, I feel like I am dying as a branch connected to this tree. And when I want to, because I know, let me say it like this, that God has more for me than to continue into this. I feel like I'm slowly dying. So do I just slowly die and fade away and not fulfill what God has for me, even though I'm feeling that God has greater for me? And have my family be mad at me? And when we go to family functions, nobody's talking to me or my children? Come on now, because people dealing with that right now. You know what I'm saying? So these are the things that I'm saying from a relational aspect. And then also, we've been hearing recently, where is this? Well, Rachel is doing good. You know what I'm saying? She's doing good in her life. And baby, I'm their mama, playing their mama. No shades to the mama. And baby, because you're doing good, your sister over here, Larisha, God forbid, is not doing that good. So it's your responsibility, even though you got your family, to take care of yourself, but also take care of her. And that's a good example, I feel, of Rachel now carrying all this unnecessary weight because Larisha had the same opportunities as Rachel. And she's carrying not only her family, because we know as women, no shade to the men, but we carry a lot. We're the glue. We're the glue. We're the glue that's holding our branch together on the tree, of a lot of our families. So, but then not only am I carrying the weight of my family and trying to be one with my husband and make sure we raise these children right, now I'm carrying the weight of my sister and our family. And because of that weight, that's more than I can bear, because the word of God say he won't put more on us than we can bear. He won't. Come on, Rachel. Come on with the interface. You know what I'm saying? And healing. Then I'm slowly dying on my branch of the tree, or my branch is weighing down, about to touch the ground and break off.
I love how you talked about the branch or cutting people off in the beginning. You talked about cutting and feeling as if you have to be connected to that tree so that you can survive, and not feeling like I can survive on my own. And I wrote something down, and it's can a branch survive or a branch can survive if it's cut the right way and planted and rooted in a healthy way, in a healthy soil, in a healthy ground. So you can be cut, or you can cut in a way that you're not cutting yourself totally off from your family, but you're cutting yourself off in a way that you can grow healthily. So you can have your family over here and you are not receiving or, I guess, inundated, if you will, with all of the things that's going on in the family or in the tree. And you can have the same DNA from that tree that you cut from, but you will be able to produce a different fruit. But it depends on the tree, on the roots that the tree or the branch was cut from. So it depends on you. So you are connected to this tree. You want to cut yourself off to grow. You have to have the things in place to help you grow and heal properly. So you got to deal with you. Right. You can't just say, I'm going to cut myself off and go over here and isolate. You can't cut yourself off and say, well, I'm going to just disassociate from them. I'm just cutting everybody off. And everybody ain't done nothing to you. Just one person does something to you. But you're cutting everybody off, but you're not going over there and doing a separate work. Right. You're cutting yourself off, and then you go and have your branch and you go to die, and you take your whole family with you that's connected to you. You're not planting yourself in a healthy environment. You go and replant yourself in something just as toxic as what you left, and think that you're going to produce fruit that is going to go out and be successful. It ain't gonna happen.
Absolutely. And so I have a question for y'all. Do you guys know if all branches create the same amount of fruit?
No.
They don't. You will find some that will produce 3 or 4 oranges on one branch. Some may only produce 2. And so for those individuals that feel as though everybody else has to be fruitful and multiply because somebody else did it, it doesn't work like that. So if God made trees that way, he made man in his own image. What makes you think that you're going to prosper just like somebody else? It all comes in something that we call a season. And so if that branch is not prepared to give that fruit, you can't expect to have it picked.
Wow.
And so right along with that, unnecessary weight breaks branches.
Unnecessary.
Unnecessary weight.
Let me write that down.
Because even when branches have fruit on them, sometimes you have to be prepared to pick that fruit to move away from it, or else the branch breaks. And then that's what happens, what Nikki was just talking about. Whether it breaks because it's too much weight or you decide to break off itself, at that point, you're not producing any fruit. And I think in a lot of families today, what they're looking for is they want the fruit so much, but they don't want to do the planting. And the same day you plant the plant, the seed is not the same day that you're going to get the fruit.
Right.
It has to grow. It has to be nurtured. It has to be nourished. It has to keep some things away, like the bugs, the disease, and things of that nature. And I ain't calling nobody a disease, but you know what they used to say, if the shoe fits. Not trying to be messy, but sometimes even in our own family systems and the way a family system works, if one wheel is turning one way, it's going to make another wheel turn. If one of those wheels gets out of whack, it can mix up that whole system.
Yeah.
And so the same way with the tree, who in your family is causing the branches not to be able to pick, to get fruit? Not trying to call anybody out, but we have to figure that out so that the tree continues to produce.
Right.
So listen, I'm hearing and I'm processing. This sounds like self-development. This sounds like, let me take inventory and responsibility of my own self
Wow.
and take time to self-develop. And it takes courage, right? I think about that scripture, you leave and you cleave, right? So you have to leave your old and cleave to whatever is true, right? So if you are individual or even if you're married, we're going to cleave to the kingdom.
Right.
And now we're not going to, and we're going to leave our family because kingdom trumps family.
Absolutely.
So the word of God trumps what we think is normal.
Right.
His truth, it supersedes his ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. They're higher.
Right.
So if we're operating here and God is saying, I'm calling you here. I want you to do this. I need you to separate. Think about Abraham. He has to leave his whole family.
Right.
Yeah.
Trust God. And God says, when you get there, I'll tell you. Right? He had to leave the tree,
Right.
all that he known, to go be a branch, to hear from the Lord, to get his identity, because now he's no longer now he's Abram, and now he's Abraham. That took time. That took for him to leave and cleave to the Lord.
And then look with that branch, because he went and did what he was supposed to do. Look what that branch just produced.
Yes.
Greatness planted himself in a whole other environment, a healthier environment.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes. Him, the Father of all.
So that's the thing. A lot of people, and that's why we're bringing this up for you all. Like, okay, what did I just come in? Why are these councils talking about trees and branches? So for you all who are just coming in, you are the branch, the individual. Your tree, the tree is your family. So think of family tree. And so a lot of individuals struggle with the leaving, whether it be in marriage. How many of us, joined the military, you had to leave your family? You know what I'm saying? You had to leave. It was by choice that you left. And this is ironic that we're speaking about this on this show. I literally posted on our social media page, how did people feel about moving away from family? What was your thoughts about leaving your hometown and different things like that? And if we be honest, and some of us have seen it, that's no longer in our hometown, and not to say our hometown is bad, because the hometown folks is mad right now. But the thing is, some people will even get jealous because I see the growth in you. I see that you left. Even though we were probably more like Abram at that time before his name was changed. What do you mean? Where am I going? A lot of us didn't know where we were going. But it's not until you get there and you grow, you know what I'm saying? To where you see the fruit and everything, where you can say, okay, this is what I was supposed to do. So for those who are struggling, Because so many people said right now, I could just pack up my whole apartment, my whole house, and just leave. But they're scared of what their family is going to say. And a lot of times, if we can be honest, those who are living with regrets within your family is 9 times out of 10 the one that's stopping you from leaving. Weird. You may have some that'll say, I wish I would have did it. Do it. Don't give a second thought to it. Do it. You know what I'm saying? And so give yourself permission, if that's what needs to be done in a season, as he was talking about a season, to do what you need to do. Yeah. It's not like you're just turning your back on your entire family. You still family. Right. You still look alike. You still family. Got the same DNA running through your veins. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But you never know where you are supposed to be planted. It may not be for me in Spencer, Choctaw, Oklahoma, or whatever. No, I'm actually living in Texas now. But God took me all the way around the world to get here. And I'm growing, but no knock on my people who are still back home. Yeah. So I think that's a lot of struggle, that weight that we're talking about. A lot of people right now that I speak to are under that unnecessary weight. And they feel like they're dying inside. And you can look in a person's eyes and tell if there's still life or not.
Life is too short.
Right.
You know?
Right.
When you said that, it's just too short for you to stay stuck. Breaking free from patterns, the shackles, breaking free from conforming or confining patterns. And that's what happens when we are trying to stay connected to the family, so to speak. So I want to be so close to my family, and it goes back to like the identity thing. I don't know who I am apart from my family. So you're telling me that it's okay to step out there into this new whole big world that I absolutely know nothing about. That just thinking about it gives me anxiety. Thinking about it makes me stressed. And you're saying to take and break away from, even though it's toxic, even though it's not healthy for me, it's familiar to me. And you're telling me to break away from that familiarity, if I can talk today, and go off and explore a world that I know absolutely nothing about.
Wow.
But keeping it real, what if you can't get away? You know what I mean? What if you have to remain in that unhealthy environment, that toxic environment?
Wow.
I think of the scripture that talks about the fallow ground. You know what I mean? How can you break up? You know what I'm saying? That fallow ground, in order for you to continue to be that branch. You know what I mean? Wow. Do you break up the fallow ground and break up the family? Because the family is the tree. You know, what do you do? How do you break up that ground?
Wow.
I think as an individual, if you realize that your family has some issues there that's not causing you to grow, not allowing you to produce fruit on your own, it's almost like we said in an earlier show, you've got to be able to do that work for yourself. You can't save everybody. But if you start with yourself, then maybe somebody else sees the fact that, hey, this person kind of broke away. Not saying they're trying to run from anything, get away from the family, but they worked on themselves to produce a better fruit. Maybe I need to do that same thing. Now, this is one thing that gets me. When you get to a tree, you think about the leaves that it has. We know that in the fall, the leaves fall off, but in the spring and summer, they come back.
I wanted to add to that the question you saying, if you are in that family, how do you break away? And I think one of the things or two things is to identify and challenge your limiting beliefs.
Yes.
You have to challenge those things. First you got to identify it. And how do you identify something if you're not taking the time to get to know yourself? If you're not taking the time to understand who you are, you won't know that there's a difference and that there's a need for you to break off. And then if you're struggling, with trying to figure that out on your own, that's what professional help is for.
That's it.
Seek professional counsel, for them to help you. I know it's all to talk to your girlfriends and your guy friends, and my mama told me and my sister told me, but if they are not where you want to be, or at least at a level where you're trying to get to, they might not be the ones that you need to talk to that
Absolutely.
can get you to that next step for you to even even identify that there is a limiting belief, because they believe what you believe right now. Right? So how can they help you branch out if y'all think the same?
Right.
Wow.
They
That
can't,
is
and they
good.
won't.
Right.
They won't, because they're going to only take you as far as they can, right?
Exactly.
I just want you to know definitions, limit.
Definitions.
Okay, it's a point or level beyond which something does not or may not extend or pass. The furthest extent of one's physical or mental endurance.
That's a limit.
That's a limit.
Wow.
It's only can go so far. But this my point is that we are limitless.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There is
Because
no-
we serve a limitless God.
Right.
We are limitless. So the amount of fruit that we can bear is limitless.
So basically, it's our mindset. We have to renew our mind. We have to get it in our mind, because then if we think it, then we'll believe it.
About that cognitive behavioral.
Yeah.
Right.
You said, Larisha, at one point, take the mask off. I'm going to say, take the limits off.
Take
Yeah.
Take the limits off.
Yes.
Limits off.
That's true.
Exactly. Increase all around. Thank you, Israel.
If you would like to, no, please.
Right.
You know, this is my. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to share. This is my motto right now. Go where you've never been before. Go where you've never been. So when you think about, if I'm limitless and I'm a branch that can bear an endless amount of fruit, guess where I'm gonna go?
Yeah.
Guess what I can do?
Yes.
Wow.
Limitless.
Yes.
That is good.
Y'all helping me today.
Listen, even if we are not, if the people don't feel help, we helping each other. Okay.
that's true.
I know.
Yeah.
You have.
Well,
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, you said endless amount of fruit.
Yeah.
But that comes with the pruning.
Yeah.
So as you do the individual work, growth, movement from stagnation occurs.
Yes.
And you're able to produce those things that are positive and
Right.
uplifting, those things that's going to take you beyond the limit, right?
Yes.
Right? So we need the pruning.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
When you say pruning, like how would we explain that to people when we talk about pruning? What does that mean?
I'll take it back to something that you shared. We got to confront. Confront those thoughts, confront those core beliefs, confront ourselves. You know what I mean? If we're not confronting,
Yeah. It's not just about cutting off.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. It
Confront
has to be some work that we have to do. And that's the thing. But the beliefs and the limitness, I was sitting up thinking about, of course, I can't help the scriptures in me. And I've been thinking about this actually probably for about the past few shows that we've done. But the thing is, we hope, we wish, we daydream. You know, they taught us when we were kids in school, you read a book, it can take you anywhere. We can dream all day, but if we don't do the work.
Yeah.
So that's why we're talking about therapy.
Yes.
When you do therapy and you have an amazing therapist, and we have amazing therapists out there, it is a limitless amount of therapists. And if I could just interject this just real quick, a little side note, it used to be, if we look, especially in the United States of America, when it came to therapy and around the world, that the ones who were therapists, 9 times out of 10, the population were white male. And then you had some white female that were in there. Now it's a limitless amount.
Yeah.
No matter what you believe, what you don't believe, what you think. I want a male therapist. A lot of males I hear will not go to therapy because they say, well, I want a male therapist because he won't judge me. But then some of them say, well, I want a female, especially in marriage. I don't want a man because then he gonna judge me. Well, let me get a female. So there is a limitless amount. But I say all that to say, faith without works is dead. You can have faith all day. You can believe, you can daydream, you could act like you're an NBA player and play all this kind of stuff. But if you don't do the work, because the work is going to produce the fruit. It is going to produce the change. You see what I'm saying? And so as we're talking about the family, there is a lot of excuses that we tell ourselves. I did that before I went to therapy. That's why I can talk about it. Oh, I'm not going. First thing, this is what we was. I'm not crazy. I'm not going to therapy.
Yeah.
That I told my first therapist that. Why are you here today? I don't know, because I'm not crazy. That's just what I said. And she started laughing. So please let that not be an excuse to limit yourself from blossoming, because with the branch, when you start to blossom on your branch, your husband, your wife start to blossom, your children start to blossom, it becomes a new normal. So you no longer have to be like the tree.
Right.
I like what you said when you taking that limit off and saying, well, I'm not going to go to therapy because I'm not crazy. And so knowing that you need that necessary help, I want to just speak to those who are out there in the professional level, especially who share the same profession as we do as therapists, because I can remember when I first started going to therapy, because I'm skilled, I'm trained, I know all of the things. I went in there like, don't do X, Y, Z. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't come at me with this. If you don't have anything new, then you can't help me. And I didn't give this person an opportunity to even try to help me. And what I think I did is created an intimidation in her. So as therapists who are out there who still need help, because we still need help. I have my therapist now. She is amazing.
Right.
Let me tell you, she's amazing. I ain't gonna give y'all her name because I don't want y'all to take her. But she is amazing. But when I had to stop myself and open myself up to say, Nikki, somebody can help you. Just because
That's
you
good.
are skilled, you are trained, doesn't mean that they cannot take that same skill and training and help you in a different way. I had to be open to receive that. And so
That
I'm
part.
saying that to those who are out there, and even those who are in higher positions. Maybe you're a CEO, maybe you are you own a whole company, $1 billion company. I don't care if you feel like you hold this high level, pastors, bishops, all of y'all. I'm talking to everybody. Just because you hold a title, a high title, doesn't mean that you know everything and that you can get yourself through every situation that you've been presented with. And maybe you don't even understand how to separate yourself from your tree. Seek help.
Yeah.
There is somebody who can help you. There is somebody out there who has a word for you. There is somebody out there who has something that they can give to you, and that if you are open enough to receive it, you'll receive it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think people have to realize that trees, plants that produce things, they have to be fertilized. And that's what we do as counselors. We help cultivate. We help individuals solve issues. But in order to do that, you got to step out on faith and allow individuals to determine the root of what problems you may be having, and then try to go from there. And I'll say something that one of our old pastors used to say that really helped me out a lot, even going into the counseling profession. In order to have something that you never had, you have to do something that you've never done. And only thing we're saying is this: therapy is a business. People have to make money to live, pay bills, things of that nature. But I will tell you, the 4 that are sitting here, the 5 that are sitting here, we don't do it for the money. We do it because we genuinely care about people and we want to see people grow.
Yes.
And when you are passionate about people, it doesn't matter what problem you have, doesn't matter what situation you're going through, you're going to get the same amount of effort regardless of the fact, because we want to see people go through things and then get through it. I used to ask people this question all the time. It's kind of like a riddle. It's how far can a dog run into the woods? Can he run part of the way, half the way, or all the way? And the answer is he can only run half the way, because once he gets to the halfway point, then he starts to run out of the woods. So in your situation, in your circumstances that you're going through, we need you to start running. And we need you to get to that halfway point, because once you get there, now you're coming out the other side, and therapy can help you come out of your situation.
Good. So I've been having a question ever since you referenced the scripture earlier, and it's actually, I'm a the fact we got a male counselor, in here, not to take anything from us, but one of the biggest things that I hear in the relational field, not necessarily with my niche of generational trauma and breaking that, but it kind of soaks into, is the leave and cleave. The leave and cleave, there are a lot of individuals, let me say friends. It's not necessarily, in the counsel room, but because I don't counsel my friends, but there are friends that we've had conversation with over the year, and the leave and cleave is the piece. And sometimes it could be the wife that, well, my daddy used to do this, my daddy did that, and my daddy. But you're not married to your daddy.
There you go.
But and then it could be the male, and where it's most commonly seen is because he was raised to be the son husband. I cannot wait until we do that show. But he was raised to be the son husband, to where he don't know how to properly leave and cleave. You still over here on this branch on this side of the tree, but you didn't marry. You didn't confessed and said your vows before God, and then you're over here because you have your mother who's used to the son husband. The wife can't be a wife. You two can't come together like you're supposed to, how God desired for you to come together. And so he's struggling. So I ain't gonna say nothing to my mama, but as my wife, I'm gonna tell you, you just gonna have to deal with it. Mama comes first. What would you say, sir, as a male therapist and a male that's married?
Well, it's oh God. I'm gonna tell you.
I'm sorry.
No. I'm gonna tell you, like, one of my professors told me, he asked me, he said, Kenya, how do you like to do therapy? And I said, it all depends on who I'm seeing and what they're going through. He said, okay, so let me ask you a question. You like to hunt, right? I said, yeah. He said, so do you stalk, or you go out and track the animal using track, look at the droppings, follow broken branches and things of that nature, or do you climb up a tree and wait for it to come? And I said, well, I really like to stalk. And he said, then you got to quit playing around and jump right in there with your clients. You're trying to warm them up and do all this stuff. And sometimes when it comes to those individuals that don't want to leave and cleave right, you got to jump right in there and let them know. It's like you said, you're not married to your mom. You're married to your wife. And if that is where the situation is at, that you're having problems in your marriage, then your mama's not going to fix it. It's going to take you and that wife to be able to fix that. So that would be some of the things I would tell individuals in that part. The other part, we have to understand there's a reason you leave and cleave.
Okay.
And when you're leaving, hopefully your parents have done everything that they're supposed to do. As you were talking about earlier, you taught them how to change the tire before they have a flat.
Right.
So that way, when you have a wife, you guys know how to navigate life. One of the issues that I see right now with a lot of individuals is that they haven't been taught how to change the tires in their relationships. They're running on flats. They don't know where the next pump station is at. And this therapy circle, not only here, but all over the world, where you have a lot of trained therapists, they know how to get your tire pumped back up. But you got to be willing to get the vehicle to the pump station. You got to get it there. And so leaving and cleaving, once again, in order for you to be able to produce fruit, that seed can't stay in the package the whole time. Somebody got to plant it. You got to plant your relationship, let it grow, nurture it, because you're only going to have that relationship. If it doesn't go right for you and it ends in divorce or something of that nature, you don't see mom and dad sitting there talking about, that's on you now. They ain't paying that child support.
Right.
They're not dealing with you when you're in your lowest of low. There you go.
That's your relationship. Oh, now it is.
Now it is. So I'll just say it like this: recognize who you're married to.
Oh, and I want to add something to that. When we talk about leaving and cleaving, when you are married, it should only be 3 individuals or 3 people in that marriage. That's your spouse and God. That three core strands. Yes, not easily broken. Yes, I can remember too. My old pastor. Pastor Patricia, well, I tell you, I gleaned so much from her. I have gleaned so much from her, but I was sitting in her office one day, it was some years ago, and I don't even know how we got on the subject of marriage, but we were talking about marriage, and she drew a triangle. And she put me and my husband at the bottom, and God was at the top. And she was like, as long as you all are connected to God, you will always be connected down here. And so it just made so much sense to me that even if there is that connection between me and my husband, as long as we're connected to God and He is, we can come back together and mend that. And so that just meant so much to me. And I always think about that whenever I have trials or tribulations or whatever in my marriage, or, I just want to, it's a podcast or a YouTube channel I listen to too. Marriage be hard. Yes, marriage be hard sometimes. So when that time comes, I think of that, and I think of that 3-strand cord. As long as we keep God in the middle of it, then we can come together in a healthy manner so that I can or he can properly leave and cleave.
Yeah.
We can properly be together.
That's a good point. And I would tell individuals this: when it comes to therapy, if you're having issues producing fruit, this is one thing I'll tell you from experience with my wife and I. We were branches fighting each other. I don't know, ever see any trees growing up out of the ground and the branches are fighting each other?
Swing.
Just
We
swing.
weren't literally swinging.
Yeah. So some of the things that I've seen when it comes to marriage therapy is that the husband and the wife are so busy fighting each other instead of coming together on one accord, talking things out, communicating, being able to give authority plus get authority and share things within the relationship. They fight each other so much they can't even fix the relationship. They'll let everything outside of the relationship influence their relationship instead of just sitting down and saying, you know what? We are together. We're trying to produce fruit. What do we need to do in order to make this fruit grow? And I will tell you, we sat back, we prayed long and hard. And when we made up our minds that we were going to quit fighting each other and keep everybody else out of our relationship and work on us, everything at that point started to get better. And so it's not the fact that we cut off from our family. We didn't cut off. We took a step back. We were still joined with them. We still do things with our family, but we have grown and prospered over the years because we had to recognize what was our calling. And the calling of the branch is to produce fruit. Doesn't matter if it's a lemon, doesn't matter if it's a pine cone or a walnut. That is what the branch's job is to do, is produce fruit.
Wow.
Hey, I got
Look, that's the calling of the branch for me. I got to write that down. Like this is church, you know. The calling of the branch produce fruit.
This is what I have a question for Larisha. Like when you think about the family dynamics and you talked about the wife and the husband, what would it look like between a mother and her children, or the child and her father, where there is the branches are broken? Like how do they begin to, even though now the person is now a branch, she's an individual, or he's an individual, what would it look like for them to repair when there is toxicity in the roots, right? So how do they begin to repair?
Well, I mean, definitely looking at the environment.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if the toxicity is still there, we got to get to the root. You know, what's at the root? You know, is it unforgiveness? Is it abuse? Is it gaslighting? But you got to really get to the root. You know, what's the root work look like?
Them 4 horsemen.
You know, if I could just self-disclose right now, right? So growing up, I experienced difficulties with my mother, right? Shifting into parenthood, right? And raising my daughter and my sons, I didn't want to carry that. Right? That same toxicity, that same pain, that same hurt, those patterns, right? That were unproductive. And so it really is about taking a look at the environment, you know what I mean, that you're in, and shifting. You know, if I could give an analogy.
Go ahead.
Have y'all ever had strep throat before?
Yes.
Okay. So usually when you have strep throat, there's the burning, difficulty eating. There's the pain that comes with it, maybe fever or what have you, because there's something that's off, right? But you get your antibiotics, you go to the doctor, they, you know, give you a diagnosis or what have you, but there are other things that you got to do. You got to change your toothbrush.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
That's good.
You got to change your toothbrush. You know what I mean? You may have to change a towel or a washcloth or what have you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not spreading.
Yeah, that's
kind of thing.
good.
But the environment is really key. But getting to that root, doing that root work,
That's
I think
so
it's
good.
key.
That's good. Yeah.
So do you feel like it can be repaired? Like after, so let's say you did your root work, you did the work, but let's say your mom didn't. Does that now mean that you just go in and everything is just great now? So what does that look like?
No. I'm being honest. Just saying, there's still some triggers.
Yes.
There's still some things that's like ripping the Band-Aid off all over again. I can't affect change or impact anyone else outside of
But
me.
you,
Thank you.
yeah,
Outside of me.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So
Thank you.
if I'm willing to do the work, if I'm willing to dig deep and willing to, you know what I mean, pull that stuff out, uproot it, pluck it up, till it, move it out, you know, then, you know, that growth is going to happen. So healing is definitely possible. You know what I mean? But you got to want it.
Yeah.
I think I heard one lady say some time ago, I'm not going to fight you for your healing. Right? So if you don't want to heal,
That's on
you know what I mean? You don't want to do the root work. Okay, I got it. But I'm gonna go over here in this space, in this environment, and do what needs to be done. So I'm not carrying that.
So it
Yeah,
sounds like
generations.
what we said, cutting from the branch in a healthy way and replanting yourself so that you can grow and produce fruit. Good fruit.
Lasting fruit.
Yeah.
Right. You know, one thing that I know also that I recognize that a lot of people wrestle with when it comes to the tree, the family tree, is that even though you are grown, you're a whole grown adult, you have those who are, you know, elder than you in the family who look at you like you're still a child. They talk to you like you're still a child, even in the presence of your own family, that your family of creation that you have, they see you as a 5-year-old. So that's a lot of struggle that I see a lot of people dealing with now, where maybe, you know, like you said, you've done you identified, because, what was your saying? You said it on another show about how you had to recognize. Look, I'm just like,
we gotta look at notes and stuff.
yes, I'm like, let me go back to the old notes. But you were saying something about how basically you can't heal from something.
So you cannot heal from what you will not confront.
Yes, and we said heal and deliver. You
Cannot be healed or delivered.
You cannot heal and be delivered from what you are not willing to confront. And a lot of times families nowadays are not willing to, number one, have a mature conversation, but identify what is the root. What is the root cause? Because we're so used to pretending like nothing is wrong. We're so used to just getting together and faking and taking that family picture. And this is my cousin, you know, and all that. But you ain't talked to cousin in 10 years because maybe both of us, our mothers, then got into it and they don't talk to each other and stuff. And so I say it like this. Families are so used to being a faux tree. Come on, they used to being a faux tree. For those who do not know what faux, F-A-U-X mean, that's fake. So used to being a fake tree and operating in a fake manner, and you wonder why it is that the family's so stagnant and it don't grow and produce much fruit. But I know you have something because your pen is going up.
I was listening to what you were saying that, and I've seen that a lot with families that do that with adult grown children. And the easiest thing I can say is that they can't realize when fruit is ripe. They can't realize when it's ripe. They still treat that fruit like it just sprouted out, like the bugs still have to be taken care of it, like it's not ready to be picked, when really you have grown and you have the juice, if you will, you have the color that is there for you to be fruitful for some other purpose, but they're still holding on you because they need you for their purpose.
And maybe they do it because they don't grow either.
I wanted to say, you can say, how do you deal with when you have adults in your family that is still treating you like a kid? And so the first thing that comes to me, the word boundaries.
Yes.
Set boundaries. So if you're healed, Like Larissa said, she's gone through her healing process. She know who she is
Yeah.
at this point. You know who you are. So now it comes to, if I'm going to engage or interact with my family, because I'm not totally trying to cut off from them, but now when I come back to you, I have boundaries in
Yes.
place.
Wow.
You can't cross those boundaries. I have things in place to protect me. So no longer will you be able to talk to me as if I'm a child, because my boundary is going to stop it.
But you know what? That's what I love about therapy. And not just the fact because we are therapists, but I love the fact that therapy, once you have done that root work and dug up the root, once you have identified, then did the root work, you know what I'm saying? Dug up the root, you've healed, you've been delivered from a lot of things. I like how, as therapists and in counseling, you know, a therapist will sit with you and teach you how to create healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries. Because a lot of us who don't truly understand boundaries, we think, oh, yeah, that's not right. I shouldn't treat you. Fall back into the old ways in your mind. So you're technically kind of fighting yourself internally. It's an internal battle within yourself. But healthy boundaries, you can no. Look, okay, I'm gonna use him as an example because we are married. You know, I've been to counseling, and let's say he's still on the fence about it. I don't like when you raise your voice at me like that. And the reason why, because see, that identified, the reason why I don't like it is because you raise your voice for me. It reminds me of my childhood when my parents used to fight and argue, and that was traumatizing. So I'm going to ask you as my husband, please don't raise your voice at me. Choose and walk off. Calm down, do what you need to do before you come back and have this conversation. You know, so that's growth, because the inner, I'm gonna say inner thug, because I'm not a thug, I'm a lady. But the person who I was would raise my voice. I'm cussing, I'm trying to fight you, we're breaking furniture.
Yeah,
all the
say
things.
not what you not gonna do.
Yeah.
Address me like that.
Right.
And that's just not the way to handle situations like that. The one thing that I do, when you said you have to become aware of those things. So kind of doing that work. The one thing that I take, the process that I take my clients through is awareness, address, process, and implement change. If you don't go through that, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
Wasting time.
On the right wheel.
Right. So a lot of times people can be aware, can definitely be aware, and know that they're behaving in such a manner and decide not to change. They decide that that's how they're going to be. And people, let me just say this to y'all. Just because you older don't mean you stuck in your ways. You're choosing your ways.
Yes.
You're not stuck.
You're choosing to stay stuck.
Yeah, you're choosing to stay stuck. Except for the people in the back. For the people in the back. For the people in the back. You are not stuck. You're choosing to be stuck. You can make a choice to be healed, to be free, to be just you can be free. Delivered. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Rachel. You can be free. You can be delivered from that. And so when people say, that's just how I am, or they say that's just how they are, no. It's a choice. Right. It's definitely a choice. So stop taking that on as if it's a badge of honor to say that's just how I am, or that's just how they are.
You gotta deal with it.
And that's the thing, when people set boundaries and they start cutting you off and isolating themselves or stepping away from you, they made a choice to choose themselves and to protect themselves. That was a boundary. And so you can't be mad when people choose themselves.
Yeah.
So understand that.
Yes.
You took all my notes.
Hey, great minds think alike. That's
Right.
it.
We here. But yeah, I mean, you just said everything I wrote down. Right? But you know, the boundaries piece is showing love to yourself and to others. You're showing them how to treat you, and you're honoring you. That's so important, right? Like in this individuality of being a branch, you have to honor yourself and love yourself and care for yourself. You have to nourish yourself, and you cannot expect somebody else to do it.
Yes.
So boundaries with love it goes both ways for them and for you.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's interesting. It makes me think about, from a relational standpoint, that is tough, what you just said. That is such a huge, not what you just said, That is such a huge thing that I think people wrestle with, especially in relationship, period. But I'll start with relationship, then I'll go back to husband and wife dynamic. Is in relationship where you're my friend. I don't know what I want. I haven't did no work on myself. I don't have any healing, but you're supposed to know what I want. And you're not treating me the way that I feel that you should be treating me.
And
It's
I don't even know how I'm supposed to be treated.
facts. And then that's just like the same when it comes to family. You know what I'm saying? You because this is something that I had to self-disclosure, like Laura said, that I had to work on with myself. I am just naturally one. Especially if God put someone on my heart, I'm going to call, I'm going to check, I'm going to text on you and all that kind of stuff. And then I was sitting up kind of big mad at God, like, this is what you put in me. This is it. Why people ain't calling and checking and doing it on me? God, I want that too. Yeah. So let me talk to the pourers for a minute. That you always pouring into, raise your hand if you pour, you always pouring into everyone else and you are neglecting self, called self-neglect. And so that happens in the family dynamic, but it also happened in the marital relationship because me and him been married almost 25 years, and it would be foolish of me as his wife to say, I've been married to you for 25 years. You should know how I feel, think what I want, and blah, blah, blah. No. Right. And let me tell you why. Because we grow. Yeah. Yes. We all grow. We're not 5-year-olds sitting up here speaking to you all. No, we are grown individuals. And if I learn nothing else from the wisdom of an elder who is now an ancestor, amazing woman who was married for over 50 plus years, she said, baby, every day you are going to learn something new about your spouse. All the way up until the end, you're going to learn something new. So we get stagnant. We don't grow. Our marriage is dead. Our relationship with our family is dead. Our friendships with our girlfriends, or we're cutting women off because I can't deal with them. They used to be me, is dead. So if everything around you is dead,
don't look directly at the camera.
If everything around you is dead, it can't be everything that's around you. It has to be you that is spreading death and disease to everyone that is around you. And in order for you to get a healing, you are going to need to renew your mind, and that's going to happen in therapy. And I say this everywhere I go, and I'm going to get off my soapbox. I'm going to say it. Y'all can probably almost say it with me. Baby, that tooth get to hurting and you can't eat. Where you going?
To the dentist.
Don't let you hit that pinky toe and you think it's broke. And I know y'all done thought of some of the imaginary words, some special words you said, or your back goes out. Any type of pain, baby, you are worried like yesterday. So why is it when it comes to your mental health, your mind, your head, what controls your whole body, your computer? This is your central processing unit.
Yes.
And there are, because it was said in the last show, and let me talk to the saints yet again, in case y'all was not on the last show. I don't need to go to a counselor because I got the ultimate counselor. He was a counselor who made counselors. What are we talking about here? But you don't say that when you go to the doctor. When that heart, when you feeling like you having a stroke, baby, you calling 911 or pressing your little, I ain't trying to laugh, but that was a funny commercial growing up. What was that? Help, I fall and I can't get up.
Med alert.
Come on, Med alert.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
They handy.
So I'm on that for a minute, but it really bothers me as a professional, as a clinician. And I'm sure you all feel the same way out there when people try to minimize us, like God did not create us to do this work.
Yeah.
Because truth be told, Shan was fine. I wasn't trying to go to, was anybody trying to go? Was that you wanted to go?
No, let me tell you, I was trying to become a teacher.
Oh.
And then I tried to escape it. Even after having a license, I tried to become a nurse, y'all.
Wow. You was running, huh, Jonah?
Running.
Jonah X.
Listen, I wouldn't even took the entrance exam to get into nursing school, and I missed it by only a few points, never ever having any medical background. And I was like, God, why didn't let me get that close? And you didn't let me get it? Like, I was literally getting ready to go after that thing as a nurse. And I had somebody tell me, girl, I come from a long line of nurses, and you are not a nurse, you are a therapist.
Just shut it down right there. Huh?
All right.
Right. Okay.
All right.
But
Yeah.
yes, so it's okay. Give yourself permission, is all I'm saying, to get the help and the healing that you need. So that way you don't infect your family of creation. Because one of the things I was sharing with them before we came on and we was really, getting into this thing, is that one thing that I noticed in my field with relational and generational trauma, with that being the focus, is that there are too many who will ruin their family of creation because you're still trying to be attached to your family of origin.
Mm-hmm.
So can we break that down for them real quick of what you mean by family of creation
Okay.
versus family of
Yes.
origin?
Family of creation is you creating your family. You get me and my husband got married. We had children. That's our family of creation. Our family of origin is who we came from, where we came from, our mother, father, sister, brother, whatever the case may be. So once you get married, that's your extended family. Your mom and your dad, they're still there. But your family of creation, who you are building with, who are you responsible for when you have children and things like that. We will abandon the children, we'll abandon the spouse and everything because I'm still the little kid in me. Come on, somebody.
Oh,
That remind me of the show, Unprisoned.
Oh,
Unprisoned.
Yes.
The little child in me
Kerry
is still
Washington.
trying to get
Yeah.
acceptance from my family
Oh,
of
it's a good
where I
show.
came from.
Yeah.
but that's the
anyhow,
inner child.
anyhow.
That's the inner
Yeah,
child.
that's the inner
That-
child.
That should definitely be a topic.
Yeah.
Let me
Oh,
write it down. The
yes.
inner child. The
Yes.
inner child.
So, y'all, this has been a great session, a great talk. I am so thrilled about everything that was disclosed here, all the things, the tools, the skills, just the things that we put out there for people to listen or to look out for in their family in dealing with being the branch and not the tree. So we are going to close it out here. And so I just want to leave y'all with something, because we try to leave y'all with something to give you a little bit of something just to help you out. And I would say the one thing that really stuck out to me, that's something coming from an individual perspective and identity, is to identify who you are. Get that you define yourself. Let me just say that you get to define who you are and how you show up. Just because you're connected to someone doesn't mean you have to become them. You get to become yourself. And then understanding that when you become that person, that you don't have to be stagnant or stuck, that you can continue to grow. I always talk about ever evolving. We're always evolving, meaning that we're always growing. You should always be growing. And so we just thank y'all for tuning in with us, listening to us. We ask that if you have any topics, any questions that you all want to ask of us, leave them down in the comments. Like this video, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell.
Yes.
So that you will know when we are posting our next video. And we look forward to seeing you on our next show at Talk, Therapy, and Heal.
Bye.
Bye.